What's happening, everybody? Welcome to RiDetroit Weekly. I am your host, Jason. The Jason of all trades is my handle on Instagram. I am happy to be back. Man, what a week it has been. Last week's guest was amazing. And I've sort of fallen into a theme here, if you haven't noticed. And it wasn't on purpose. I mean, I really did want to stay with the Black History Month theme, but little did I know I was falling into this strong Black women Black History Month theme. So last week we had Brittany B. Brown on, and she dropped tons of knowledge on the importance of obtaining a publicist and when to obtain a publicist, and the importance of keeping a clean social media presence. You know, everybody's out there, everybody's on this world right now. We're all Facebook and we're all Instagramming, but the true question is, why are we there? All right, so if you want to find out more information about that, make sure you check out last week's episode with Brittany B. Brown. It was awesome. I just want to get into this one right now. Once again, we're keeping our theme going right now. I actually ended up meeting my next guest in Grand Rapids last year as we worked on Project One as part of Art Prize. I'll let her talk to you in a second about what Art Prize is, but we're going to move quickly through that because, as you'll learn, like a lot of people right now, we're all having to use the word pivot in our lives. And Kristian is one of those people who definitely had to make a big pivot. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and bring her in right now. Everybody, Kristian Grant. What's happening, girlfriend?
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You said you just got off a Zoom, and I don't doubt that. And it was probably one right before that and right before that, because you are hands down one of the busiest people I know out there right now. Like, every time I flip through my social media, you're doing something in the community. And we're talking multiple communities, all right? So we're gonna get into all that, but I was talking about how we met, doing Art Prize last year. So for those who don't know about Art Prize, can you give them a little insight on what Art Prize exactly is?
So, Art Prize is a 10-year-old experiment. This would be the 11th year, which this is the first year that they've taken a break, but it was really an experiment about how art can really change a community. So it was a spontaneous startup that happened and just explored, if we put big, bold, large art in the middle of a community, can we help revitalize urban spaces? And it was also really a competition. So people from all of the world came to Grand Rapids, Michigan to compete, to win prizes, cash prizes for what the public saw as some of the best art. And then that we also would bring in some jurors from around the world as well, who were really well known in the art world, and they would choose art that they loved as well. We would have thousands of entries. I was kind of the person who curated VIP experiences for Art Prize. So I got to throw really elaborate parties and bring really cool people like you in to help us create some type of experience that people wouldn't forget.
And we're talking citywide. So, and we're talking in scale from the size of, this big all the way up to 10, 20 feet sometimes, even bigger. When I worked with you guys, I mean, we had, 3 installations sort of set up, and they were massive. So we're not talking about just a little art festival here. We're talking about a major endeavor.
Yeah, for quite a while, it was one of the world's largest art festivals. So definitely something big to be a part of, and it definitely showed me how a few people can come together. Our team was 10 people, right? But we would have millions of people come to Grand Rapids, Michigan to experience what Art Prize was.
It's crazy because when I got the call, and they, do you want to work with Art Prize? I almost lost it because growing up in Michigan for years, this massive, this incredible festival exists, and to get asked to be a part of it was insane for me. But it was actually a little bit different because it was going through a little bit of a change, right? It was going from Art Prize to Project One.
Yes. So after our 10th year, we held a big 10-year festival. And then in our 11th year, we really did, and I say we, I'm no longer on the team, but at the time I was, at that time, we had to really look at, like, okay, when you first do a startup, you're brand new, there are no rules, you just kind of do things. But at the 10-year mark, we had become this institution. And no one ever really foresaw that happening. So we had to look at what's the toll that we're putting on our city every year when we bring millions of people to our city. Business owners, homeowners, all these people have to deal with it, whether they like it or not. We would have art in restaurants and convention centers, and we didn't think about, like, people are literally like, we have to replace carpet when Art Prize leaves, right? Like, how much toilet paper do we go through?
Right.
Like, there were just so many things that we never thought about. And so at a time they decided to do make it a biennial, to do it every other year, to give people a break from that craziness. So that's what the year was when you came in, and we did Project One, and we decided to spread it out, not just have it downtown, and really, grow our presence in the city.
And it was amazing. I mean, the day I was out there and we rode, um, the people that came out and the way that each installation was set up, you could just see how the community had just bought in completely to the art, everything that was going on, the energy. I commend you guys on that because that really opened my eyes once again to the size and the grandeur of doing something on that size of that scale. So now you do your thing with Art Prize. And let's talk about now. So when did you decide, when were you starting to think that now might be the time for me to do my own thing?
I think you just always know. Well, first of all, my family will be the first to say that I will pivot in a minute. Like, I will leave a job in a minute, and it's because that's never been like my end goal. So I think the moment when you start feeling like that angst when you get up in the morning and you're like, oh, I have to go to this place. I love my Art Prize family. The work was awesome, but it just came a point where I really knew I was having growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to, take a chance and bet on myself. So I left the year before COVID, the fall before COVID. And then, everything happened. Art Prize got canceled this year. So much happened. And it just really, for me, let me know that I made the right choice to bet on myself and to figure things out for myself.
So for those who are, listening right now, a lot of people are in that situation right now where they're having to look into an alternative way of making money or another career. Tell me what that looks like. Is there an anxiety involved in that, or do you say, you know what, this was merely a stepping stone for me to begin with? I mean, talk to me about that because I went through a similar situation with Slow Roll, but talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think, you'll find a lot of people will be like, I just knew it was time, and like it was amazing. Everything fell in place. Like, no, my life kind of like fell apart uh, a year ago, like technically a year ago from now. Because what I decided to do was pivot and leave and do projects and events on my own, like large scale projects. And so I had these large conferences and events with 700 people, 1,000 people set up. And then in February, my contract started canceling, and some virus was happening, and people felt like maybe they shouldn't travel. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? And by March, I had set up about $50,000 to $60,000 worth of contracts that I felt like could hold me through the year while I was figuring things out. And by March, I was owing money. Like, there were no contracts left. And so all of the expenses that I had incurred up to that time, I owed. And so, there's a ton of anxiety around that because you bet on yourself, and now you're like, okay, like that was bad. Like
Right.
I bombed, I crapped out. But I also think there's some beauty in just being like, every single thing that I had planned is done. Like, it's all done, because I think at that time I also realized that I still wasn't getting to what I really wanted to do. I was still in a comfort zone. So I had left my job, but I was still just doing the exact same thing for myself. And there was comfort to that. And when I had to decide, okay, we have to rebuild this from the ground up, I realized that's not, if I had to rebuild something, that's not what I want to build. Like, let's take time to figure out what I really want.
And so you got a bunch of businesses right now. I don't even know where to start. So which one was the first? Did you decide to attack them all, or was it because you've got the boutique, and we'll talk about that. Once again, you're in the community, so you're doing that. You got real estate, and that's in 2 different cities. You're in Grand Rapids and Flint. So where did you start on this journey of entrepreneurship?
I think I've always had a little bit of entrepreneur in me. I started my first nonprofit in undergrad, but even as a kid, I would like just start small businesses selling candy, or selling little jewelry that I made. And I just never knew what to call it. I just knew like I have an idea and I think other people will like this. Um, so right now I do have multiple things I'm working on, but really my goal this year is to focus. One thing I realize is when you have so many different interests, you're not doing any of them justice when you're like spread so thin.
Right,
So
right.
COVID taught me like I was doing way too much, like not sleeping, not eating, and it's time to take like this reset that the world is going through and really just focus on what I want. So I've really been focused on real estate, and I also have a planner that's built for business owners to help them like focus and strategize and really have a strategic plan for what they want. So those are the 2 things that I'm completely focused on right now.
So you got real estate, which is really what you're pushing right now, and the planner is almost like passive income because once you make that, you have the product to sell. So that just is on a shelf waiting to sell while you are out generating all this real estate.
That's the plan. That's definitely the plan.
Yeah, people don't understand about passive income. I talk about it all the time. People think that, you get a job and you work it, but the goal here is to have several revenue streams, and a couple of them being passive, where you don't have to put a lot of work into it, other than, like I said, the mailing of the planner.
Yeah, absolutely. When I talk to new business owners, it's like build your business from the ground up. It's going to take more time in the beginning, but build it in a way where you have systems in place to support you, because you can't be everything and do everything. It wears you thin. So with the planner, the goal is really to be on shelves in large retailers, and that's what we're working on right now. So like you said, I don't have to be there to make a sale, right? And systems are set up where it's automatically shipping out. I don't have to be the person packaging that. And eventually that's where we want the real estate to be as well. Like we develop it, and we either sell it or we have commercial or residential tenants who are there, and we're creating these streams of income. I see people who look like me work so hard every day of their lives, and it's we got to set this up to work smarter, not harder.
Precisely, precisely. So we're talking about how you're from Grand Rapids, but you're doing a lot of work in Flint. And for those who don't know about Flint, Flint's been going through their thing for the longest time. What made you choose to do business in Flint, of all places? What drew you there?
Yeah, so I've grown up going to Flint for most of my childhood. I have family in Flint. I have great memories in Flint. I'm also a Spartan, so a ton of my
I
Spartan
won't
family.
I won't hold that against you. I won't hold that against you. I still love
Yeah,
you. I mean, I'll let that go. But go
you know,
ahead.
we give that other school a pass, but I am a Spartan. And so a ton of my Michigan State family is from Flint. And when I was really first getting into investing in real estate, I wanted to invest somewhere that was comfortable. But Grand Rapids at the time was one of the top 10 growing markets in the country. So I was really, really priced out of Grand Rapids. And I wanted to find an entry point that allowed me to fail if I needed to, allowed me to learn and make some mistakes if I needed to. And so Flint was a great place to do that. Flint is honestly a great market to be in.
I love Flint. I love Flint. I went up there with Pure Michigan a couple years ago, and I did a piece on Flint. And we went to the farmers market, and we went to a couple breweries, and it just felt like a mini Detroit. You know what I mean? It felt like that working city where people understood we're all in this together, whatever that all in it is. And that's what intrigued me about. I said the same day that I was there, I said, I would invest in Flint. I said, if people see what's going down here and they erase, all the other stuff they hear, there's a lot of opportunity going on in Flint.
Yeah. So when I look at investing, I mean, I was gonna say in real estate, but I guess I approach the stock market the same way. Like today, the market is dipping a lot, and I'm like, "Oh, let me buy some more." Like I'm like, Tesla went down a few $100s. I've been waiting for that forever. Like Amazon is down, let's buy it. And so when I look at markets to invest in real estate, I look at the story. So, I'm not from Detroit, but have tons of family there, grew up going there, used to wish I was from Detroit because I was from, West Michigan. But but when people were so down on Detroit, I was like, you have to look at the story, right? Like people always look at the outcome and blame the city for that. But like, how did it happen? So DPS used to be one of the best school districts in the state. What happened? Like there was a divestment there and it happened for a reason. And so the same thing happened in Flint. Like the structures that were supposed to protect the city actually hurt the city. But now those same people are going in and buying, property and companies for pennies on the dollar. There's always a reason, there's a deeper reason. So like you always follow the money trail, and a lot of people fall for that okey doke, like, oh, things are terrible. Like, look at Detroit. Like, okay, well, look, you left your house, and now look, somebody's buying it and making six figures on those properties now, right? So, that's the same way I felt about Detroit. What happened to Detroit was not the fault of the people in the city. There are amazing people in that city, but there's a reason why people let some of those things happen. And to me, that just points to, double up on your investments. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see some big things happening in Flint.
I agree. I agree. And it's just, like you said, it's one of those situations where people don't really understand the history of stuff. And there's a reason why Flint is the way it is. And people are going to buy in, just like they did with Detroit. Like you said, there was anybody who knows, there was a group of people that were loving the fact that Detroit was going downhill because the property value was dropping. So they could hop right back in and open brand new stadiums and charge the city half of it. So yes, as you talk about not falling for the okey doke, that is the okey doke of which we speak of.
Absolutely. Especially when you're holding the property, which contribute to the blight, which causes more crime, which causes neighbors to move out, then you just buy their property and continue to hold it, which is classic downtown Detroit, right? Um, but there was in not I'm not disputing anyone's experience, but there's never really been a time I felt unsafe in Detroit. A lot of that was me being naive, like, but I've spent plenty of time in Detroit on East Side, West Side, downtown, and I there's always been that value, that strong community there. Same thing for Flint. I think sometimes we let other people confuse us about like the real value of what we have. I just so one of my companies does loan closing. So if you buy a new house, you sell a house, you refi, pool money, any of that, my company will close the deal for you. And I just did a closing, and it so happened to be that the woman I was closing for, I used to date her son, and she has a duplex in the south side of town in Grand Rapids. That prices are skyrocketing now. And she said, yeah, he doesn't want this property. He left the state. He's not going to take it. And I called him. I was like, she's putting this property in a trust, and you're going to get this property. If you have to hire a property manager, if you whatever, you're going to figure it out. Like, you're not going to let this property go. You have a kid. And once we talk about passive income or residual income, we have to actually get past that and start talking about generational wealth. Like, that's what we have to start planning for.
And that's and we, as we can be candid. This is my show. We as a people, we don't know a lot about that. They kept us a certain way that we don't understand about generational wealth. We weren't allowed to even live that way. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and I think it's no fault, once again, like people like to point fingers. I don't want to blame my community, because if you think about like how many successful cities and communities were built by Black people around this country, and how quickly those things were taken from us. People would come in, they would burn businesses down, they would kill you for being successful, for being independent and relying on each other. So there's a lot of buried anxiety and stress about why we operate the way that we do, right? Um, but at the end of the day, I just think about everything that my parents taught me, I built on that, right? And then everything I'm building, I want my daughter to be able to build on that. And we really have to get to a point where we're making it so the next generation has shoulders to stand on, right? They're able to stand on our shoulders and build more generational wealth. So, like when I'm saying that I do these loan closings, I see the difference in the loan application. I see what certain people are approved for and how much they have in the bank and what their credit score is compared to how much more we have to have in the bank and how much higher our credit score has to be. I see it every single day. So I'm not saying there aren't barriers, but I'm saying because there are barriers, let's make it a little bit easier for the people coming after us.
No, absolutely, absolutely. A funny story. I was like teetering around and looking at houses, and so we started going about the process. And no one ever told me. Growing up, people tell you to take care of your credit, watch your credit, but they don't impart upon you how important it's going to be later on in life. So I have a friend whose credit literally is so good that they could buy 3 houses for the same amount of money that I could buy a house for. The color of their skin happens to be different than mine, okay? So the world that we live in, we don't teach our kids the importance of having good credit, the importance of building up your credit. And like you said, for instances like this, when you come to buy a house, I know I know far less people of color who are buying. I know way more people of color that are renting than the other way around. And that's the trap that we talk about, because I'll tell you this, the same person that I'm talking about, their mortgage on 3 houses is what I pay in rent on my house. But they will approve me to get the house to rent for that much, but they won't approve me to get the house to buy for less.
Yes, and that's a real struggle. And once again, I have to look at history. I love history. I'll read about history all day. Like I think that we were missing some lessons here from generations before us, but also imagine just a generation ago, 2 at the most, people couldn't live on a certain side of the tracks, right? So it didn't matter how much you made or what you did, this was your option, right? Like you want this one or this one. Like that's it. Um so I think that those tools just had a different meaning, and it wasn't that long ago. But people also, I think, don't realize that it's not easy to fix your credit, but it's not impossible. Like 6 months to a year going hard with your credit. So I'll say when I lost that money last year, my credit took a hit, right? Like being really transparent, there was a mortgage payment that I missed. I was like a week or two. No, I must have been about 30 days late because my credit took a huge hit, and I was devastated, right? Because like I just left this consistent money, where I would have been able to pay my bills, and I took my liquid cash and invested in something else, and then like I took this hit. But over the last year, I just been like building back, and now my credit it's even better. But it takes consistency, and there are so many tricks and things for people to know. So 2 tricks that I always tell people for your credit: always pay your bills. Every bill that reports to the credit bureau, pay them at least a day early and at least $1 more. Do
Okay.
that consistently, and all the credit bureau sees is that you pay early and you pay more. They don't know how early. They don't track that. They just know this person consistently pays early and they pay over, right? And over time that will raise your credit. Also, you want to I use my credit cards for points. I want to fly, I want to stay, in the nicest hotels, but I pay them off just before they're due always. So basically, I'm holding your money and leveraging it for points, but I'm not paying interest on that money. So I've also, when I get cash back, I'll use that cash back money for expenses. So you paid for a business expense and it was a business write off for me. So there's just like so many things, so many tips and tricks, but we just oftentimes don't know that. So my daughter's 16. I put her as a co-signer onto my credit cards. Um, and those are limits that I run up every month and I pay off every month. So her credit score is pretty high right now at 16. Um, and she knows nothing about it.
Right.
Well, we talk about it, but she doesn't have to be hands on with it. And I think that's such a change from, I had a lot of friends who their parents were putting bills in their name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the bills
Mm-hmm.
weren't getting paid, and so you don't know until you go to do something that your credit is actually shot. But I think we really have an opportunity to write another narrative for our kids.
I love it. I love it. That's why I do this show, because you are dropping knowledge. Because there are tricks every day. I'm a YouTube junkie, so we watch it all the time, and I'm learning all these tricks. And you just is it better off that I just hire somebody like you to help me through this, or is it, you know what I mean? Because for me to learn this information, it would take me, because I know you study this. You know what I'm saying? You didn't just pick up a book and find this. You study
Right.
your craft.
So what I've learned, because I always was like, my problem is that I just need to make more money so I can pay people to do all the things I want them to do, right? And then you make more money, you pay the people, and they still don't do what you expect, and that kind of breaks you down as a business
Mm-hmm.
owner, as a
Mm-hmm.
person hiring a financial advisor. So a few years ago, I was so excited. I'm making enough money to hire a financial advisor, and we started the Roth IRA and all this stuff. And then I was looking at my returns, and they weren't great. But I realized it was because like I still need knowledge. Like because I knew I should be getting better returns, but I didn't have the language to tell him. So he's just like, oh, 30 years from now, blah, blah, blah. So I went and opened my own brokerage account with TD Ameritrade, and I slowly buying shares of stocks, slowly doing options, giving myself time to fail, learning. And then I saw the gains that I was getting. And I told him, I said, so my portfolio has been up 12% today. Yours didn't go up 12%. So now I had like this thing. So I think there's a balance. Yes, you should hire people, but you also have to have some base level knowledge to hold them accountable. So a lot of these things are just habit. It's really just habit. Like I wrote in my game plan, there's a check-in, there's a budget every month. And then there's also just a monthly check-in. And I'm like, okay, so this month I'm gonna call Chase and tell them to raise my credit limit, right? This month I'm gonna call Amex and tell them to raise my credit limit, right? So that just gives me more buying power. I have friends who actually buy properties on their credit card. Like, can you imagine the points that they get when they're buying an $80,000 property on their credit card, and they're paying it right back off? But I mean, you're flying for free for the rest of the year, like like
Right.
so but it's just about being consistent and putting those things in front of you.
Wow. Wow. This is going exactly like I knew it would. Because, like I said, you are out there. And now, talk about the cottages.
Yes. So I have four properties that I'm working on right now. Four properties that are like kicking my butt right now. So my ultimate goal is to be a developer, right? Like I remember driving around and knowing when I was in the car looking out the window in my parents' back seat, I felt one way when we were on the south side of town, and I felt another way when we got to the suburbs. And I remember being a little kid and I couldn't explain it. Well, there were less wires and electrical stuff hanging low all over our head in the suburbs. Properties were pushed back further. There was more green space. Buildings had better upkeep. There were trash bins on the street, so there wasn't trash on the ground, right? Like all of these things that I couldn't put my finger on, but it created like that culture, that feeling, right? And so um I thought about those kind of things just my whole life, but I didn't have any language for it. And I remember one day I was like grown and sitting in a meeting and somebody was talking about a developer and what they did, and I was like, oh shoot, that's what I want to. I want to be a developer. I want to curate spaces in communities that look like mine, where I elevate the living there, but I don't displace the people who are there. And in Detroit, you guys have that. In West Michigan, I'm hard pressed to find an affluent area that's full of people who look like me. And so that has been an issue for me. So when I started acquiring real estate, I wanted it to be in communities that I could really make a difference. So a partner and myself bought 3 cottages in Idlewild, Michigan last fall, and we're in the middle of renovating them right now. And Idlewild is a very small town. So we're jumping through hoops and calling people's cousins and running into somebody's aunt to get things done. But it's going to be really exciting when it's done.
Yeah, because they do the big glamping. I mean, Idlewild is blowing up. You know what I mean? In the last 4 5 years, like every summer, I always get a big glamping invite. I mean, they got it going down up there.
Yeah, so that's some of your Detroit people too who do the jazz festival and the glamping. Yep, that's some Detroit folks. I'm gonna remember his name before we're done, but it's a great event, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it this year with our space.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to rent one of those when you get it done, because they were looking like, I like to camp out and they're looking nice.
There are amazing trails, so I'm actually going up in like a week or so to go snowmobiling on the trails. But there are like amazing trails, so I don't know. We might have to get a bike ride going up there.
I'm with it. They've been trying to get me to come up there for years, and I always find a reason to not. But no, this is the reason to do it. So we're talking about all your entrepreneur, and you're doing this, but you still keep it heavy in the community as well. You know what I mean? Explain to everybody the importance of that. You know what I mean? A lot of people think that once you get money, that the first thing you do is get out of the community. But I always felt like the money is in the community.
Yeah, so I still live right now. I'm deep on the south side, right? Like this is where I grew up. And my parents raised me in a way that like I was here, but I was exposed to more. So it didn't feel like this was a place to escape, but it was just a place that felt like home when I came from all the other places, whether that was the suburbs or a different state, a different city. And so it's really important to me. 4 years ago, I ran to be on the Grand Rapids Public School Board. I just finished serving my second year as the board president. And, you know, when you are able to really influence 17,000 kids who are walking the same halls that I walked. And I remember how I felt, you know, walking those same buildings and they feel so small now, but I remember how giant they felt and how I just needed somebody to look up to, you know. And so I think that our community raises us so that we can be that person that we needed when we were younger. So whether it's something for school board, whether it's the partner that I bought the cottages with, his name is Michael. Every year, the week before Christmas, we throw a holiday dinner at the community center. We have 600 to 700 people come out. Every child gets a picture with Black Santa, and every child gets a gift. You know, there have been times where like, oh shoot, there's 100 more kids still in line, and we don't have no more gifts, and we'll like send somebody to Target, like go get some more gifts. But no child leaves without a gift. No one leaves without, like, we do the full Christmas dinner. And that day is like my favorite day of the year, because it is like making a difference. If a parent gets to see their kids smile and have a moment where they can take a break, and it's just community there, making sure all the kids are taken care of, they're dancing, they're having fun. Like if we can provide that we don't take it out of the hood. It's right in the hood, right? But it's right in the neighborhood that's gentrifying now. And it's also a statement saying like, this is still ours. This is still our neighborhood. I think things like that are important. And if we're all doing our part, then it makes a huge impact across the community.
Absolutely, and you are leading by example in so many ways. It is ridiculous. I know the people of Grand Rapids love you because you are a treasure. From the moment that I met you, I knew we were going to link up and it was going to be awesome. And I hope to do some business. My money is all messed up, so I need to just hand you all my accounts. I need to hand you the 27 cents I have in my bank account. You can have that and invest that.
I do not believe that. I'm coming for some Detroit property next. I've put in a couple of bids, but I'm coming for Detroit next. So we got to link up.
Yes, we do, because I'm telling you, good luck buying a house. And we can talk about this, and people don't understand. The houses that used to be 10,000 in Detroit are now 50,000 in Detroit, and the houses that used to be 40 are now 100.
I just got outbid on a property over on King, close to Woodward. Um, and I bid well over, but there was an all cash buyer, and I was like, I gotta put 40,000 into the house still, so I was tapped out. But I think you guys still have some gems. Um, Unfortunately, as a business owner, as an investor, there's always like my heart is with the community, but you also see opportunities. The last recession, we are seeing a lot of similarities right now. So people are in forbearance that's buying them a little bit of time. The government's still, giving an influx of money to the stock markets and things, trying to keep us afloat. But there's going to be a real crash here. I mean, we're technically in a recession already, but there's going to be a real crash here. And unfortunately, what that means is the market will have many more properties. There are so many people who are in forbearance right now and who are behind. And any day now, the banks can say, give me the money. And if you're 2 years behind on your mortgage payment, it's really hard to catch up with that. Right. On the flip side, there's also landlords who haven't been collecting rent from their tenants for a year and a half. And so what does that mean? If you have 50 properties and only a few tenants are paying, when the bank calls for their money, it's not going to be there. So that breaks my heart, but it also lets me know that where people have been priced out before, there's about to be a lot of opportunity. So I keep telling everyone, stay as liquid as possible. I know you want that Gucci, that Fendi, that Louis, but I'm holding on to all my coins right now because there's about to be a lot of opportunity.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You're speaking to me, because there was a pair of Jordans that came out that I was really about to cop. You know what I mean? But now you're refocusing me here on the house.
Let somebody's rent pay for your J's, right? So like, still get the bag, but let somebody else pay for it.
That's what I'm talking about. Kristian, man, I cannot thank you enough for coming and hanging out today. Like I said, I knew this was going to be incredible because everything about you is inspirational, from your smile to your energy, and I knew that you would be able to, the viewers love knowledge, and I'm giving it to them right now, so that's what's up. Is there anything that you want to talk about before I let you go?
No, I think we covered it all. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to tap into the episodes that are coming. I'm really humbled that you had me here. So 10th episode on February 10th.
10th on the 10th. 10th on the 10th. You said it before me. You stole my thunder. I was going to end it. Yes. You are going down in history as the 10th episode on the 10th. So that is what's up. You will be remembered forever.
All right. Well, I ordered my bike, my in-house Peloton bike, because last time I couldn't keep up with you, so I'm gonna be back, and I'll be back in the city when the snow is gone.
I wasn't gonna bring that up. I wasn't gonna talk about.
Okay, I would keep up. I think I made it. I was in the car by the end of the ride. That's okay though.
We'll work on it. The effort was there. You got started, and you brought the ride to Grand Rapids. So, that's enough right there. And I'm going to get you on an e-bike, so you'll definitely be able to keep up.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
All right, girlfriend, I will talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, talk to you in a minute. Wow, everybody. You know what I mean? Look what what can I say, man? I mean, I'm speechless about this. People don't understand. Okay, so when I try to book guests, what I really try to do is I try to book somebody that hasn't been heard maybe in this circle. Okay, people in Grand Rapids, they know who Kristian is. Don't be fooled. But I try to book people that are new, maybe on the, not fringe, but necessarily aren't that person that you're talking to all the time. So hopefully that gave you a little insight. Man, the last couple of weeks, if you don't get your business together, through the knowledge that we gave you in the last 2 weeks, Alpha. That's a little inside joke there. If you don't get your business together with all the information, come on, man, definitely. Look Brittany up on Facebook, look Kristian up on Facebook. Definitely link with both of them. Get your money right. Next week, another strong, powerful black woman. I am so excited to have Summer Woods on here. Summer's done work with the Q line and M1, and now she's just like everybody else in the world, breaking off into something new of her own. So we're going to talk about that and everything else next week, next Wednesday, 3 p.m. I got to thank my sponsors as usual, Loomis Helmets. They've been running over in the, I always get that. Running over there. I'm going to get this one of these days that it's the opposite. So if you see the RiDetroit live, that is the Loomis helmet, 77 programmable screens that you can put on there. You can put your words in there. Griffin Claw Brewing. Ah, yes, no better way to relax than with a Griffin Claw beer. And of course, Electric Avenue Bikes, the one and only, Detroit's only premier e-bike only store. Not only do we sell e-bikes, but we rent them, and I do tours. So if you want to do a tour of Murals in the Market, you want to find out what my favorite pizza is, because people have been talking about it a lot lately, we can go on a tour. I got to thank my homies over at American Cycle and Fitness. Those boys are working hard to get those bikes out for spring, so go easy on them. I got to say what's up to Wingman Water, because they keep us hydrated. And last but not least, the Purple Power Up from Tapped Beverages on tap, right over there on the keg, right on tap. So if you want to come by and see what that's all about and get a little taste, I'm trying to get a feel for this, because if it's good, I'm going to can it and make this money. You know I can't talk to Kristian and not talk about diversifying and making funds, all right? Go subscribe to the RiDetroit YouTube channel, please. Think about it. Consider it. It might be something you might want to do. We're about 15 people away from getting the ability to have our own link, and that means a lot. And then we'll be talking about the next contest after that. And there is a contest going down for the first 100 people. We're giving away a cool $50. It's not that exciting unless you like money. But the next prize, I tell you what though, once we get past 100 and we start looking at 5, tune in for that madness. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. That's it, Anthony, that's it, Al, that's it. It's a wrap. See you next week, everybody. Peace.